Hello, everybody, and welcome to Total War Warhammer 2, the sequel to the game that I had been showing you guys recently, Total War Warhammer. Which, as a note, this is being, at the time of this recording, it is only a few days before the Mortal Empire's free expansion, quote unquote, DLC is added into the game. It's a free inclusion if you already own both the first and second game. You can just be able to access it in here. So it's being recorded before then. Just as a little note in case you're curious. So we've already, I made a video where we took a look at the armies for the first game, Total War Warhammer. This one, not as many factions really to look at. Obviously, this game just recently came out, so they haven't had more DLC factions and lords and armies. Little smaller. Only 4 main factions to really look at this time. I'll probably do some vids where we take a look at the intros for each of the 4 factions for the campaigns here. But today we're going to be just taking a look at the armies, how they each look, just in case you want to know how they seem, what they're like, what you can look forward to if you play them. So we're going to go alphabetically here. We're going to start off with the Dark Elves. We have, as our lords, we have a Dreadlord, or 2 different versions of them. Then we have our legendary ones that you play in the campaigns with, Morathi, and the head honcho himself, Malekith, the Witch King. We're going to be selecting him, and he comes with a few mounts, but of course he has Seraphon, a dark dragon, or a black dragon, because why would we not have him ride that? We'll have each of the hero units here, and let me see here. They have Dark Steeds, Cold Ones, and a Dark Pegasus. Let me see here. Okay, so that one doesn't get a mount. This one gets a Cauldron of Blood mount. Okay. You will have the Pegasus. You will have the Cold One. And you will have the Dark Steed, so we can take a look at how each of them look. And then we're going to get one of each of the different units here. There are no special Regiment of Renown and Anniversary units in this game yet. I expect that at some point down the line, units like that will be added into the game either for free or as paid DLC. You never know with how Sega is and such. So hopefully this doesn't affect my machine that badly. Let's take a look at them. I've tested this before, and it seemed to be pretty okay. My my PC is able to run this on medium settings. That's what it recommends anyway. I haven't tested if it can run higher because I'm content with running it on medium. I don't want to test performance issues just by having it run on higher quality. Even though it would be great to see the amount of units or soldiers and such per unit increased on higher settings, but I'm fine with what I'm getting here. Obviously, don't take this, this matchup doesn't matter. So, because we're just going to be taking a look at our army, and then we're going to switch to a different faction and look at that army. That's kind of how it's going to work. We're just taking a look at how each of the different armies and units look in the game. Sometimes you got to see what the army offers you to get excited about actually playing them in the campaign. Or just in general. Doesn't even have to be the campaign. Since there is a whole multiplayer aspect of this game, I just haven't touched it, but from what I've heard, some people really enjoy that part of it. Why was it taking that long to load? Uh-oh. Machine's lagging a bit. Alright, let's have everybody line up here in the front, and we go through an inspection here. First off, we have a feral black dragon. Actually, it doesn't even say it's feral, it's just a black dragon. Apparently, whether it's feral or not doesn't matter. But yeah, you can have a black dragon in your army. I'd say that's pretty cool. Oh, you can also have a war hydra, which is kind of being blocked. Hold on. You're being blocked by this tree. I think I picked the wrong map for this. I didn't know there was going to be all these trees here blocking the way. Sorry about that. I'll try and... I was trying to pick a bright map with open, without much terrain in the way. But yeah, here's the War Hydra. Pretty awesome. It's got Fiery Breath, causes terror, has regeneration. Obviously, your Black Dragon also causes terror. Actually, no, it doesn't say it causes terror, but it's a default there. You see it. Hold on a second, actually. Yeah, it causes terror. It just also has Noxious Breath, Armored, Armor Piercing, Scaly Skin. That's pretty awesome. We also have Harpies as flying melee infantry. We've got Cold One Chariots. Cold Ones are basically Velociraptors. As maybe they're not technically Velociraptors, but I like to joke that they are. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get to looking at the Lizardmen army. Here we've got Dark Riders with repeater crossbows, some nice missile cavalry. Cold One Cavalry, Cold One Dread Knights, armored and shielded with armor piercing. Very cool, very strong. More Dark Riders with shields, Shock Cavalry. Oh, so yeah, and then we just have regular Dark Riders without shields that can just be able to just charge in. We have Shades with great swords. They are also missile infantry. This is one of the cool things about the Dark Elves armies, is that they can be able to have a lot of these units that are hybrid units that can be able to be both missile infantry and melee infantry. You can have them switch back and forth. So while these guys have what are those, crossbows? Yeah, those are crossbows. They also have great swords, so they can fight in melee combat. So you can be able to have a full hybrid army if you want. Like, even you have Shades here with dual weapons that they can be able to use, but also using their crossbows. It's great. We have Shades, just regular Shades. We have Black Arc Corsairs with hand bows. Why are they called Black Arc Corsairs? Because Dark Elves have this thing in the campaign called a Black Arc that they can be able to kind of send around. Kind of like you manage it kind of like a Horde faction from like the Warriors of Chaos or the Beastmen in terms of growth, putting its own structures within it and be able to have its own army. I haven't fully learned how to play it yet. I haven't played that much with the Dark Elves. I'm kind of learning how they work and how that whole thing works, because it seems like it's almost limited, but I don't think I've fully learned how to use it yet. I'm in the process of it. Dark Shards with shields, with crossbows. That's very awesome. I love these hybrid units. I can be able to like have them switch back and forth between missile and melee. Regular Dark Shards with armor-piercing missiles. The Black Guard of Nagarond. These guys are really strong halberd infantry units. Just so good. Harganeth Executioners, great sword infantry. Black Arc Corsairs, look at these guys with their dual swords. Oh, that's awesome. Dread Spears, spear infantry with shields. Bleak Swords, sword infantry with shields. Over here we have a Death Hag, melee specialist. Where are the, Did I leave out the Witch Elves by mistake? Oh, no, no, maybe I did by mistake. There's another unit here. I guess I may have accidentally not clicked on them somewhere. My bad. I accidentally left out a unit. Sorry about that. This is I guess the hero unit, the Death Hag, and she has this, this is another really silly looking mount. Oh my gosh, that's pretty horrifying. I guess she can use this to just kind of like chase and in pursuit. Not really sure how functional that is as a vehicle to use on the field of battle, but over here we have the K-Knight Assassin, a hybrid weapon specialist, as it says, being able to stalk, good against gates, a duelist, poison attacks. Over here we have a Fire Sorceress riding a Cold One, as you can see here. It's like an armored up raptor. Over here we have a Dark Sorceress riding a Dark Steed, pretty much just a Dark Horse. Over here we have the Repeater Bolt Throwers. This is our main field artillery unit for this faction. And then up here we have the faction leader, Malekith, riding his Black Dragon. How could you not want to follow that guy into battle while he is riding that? He is, and he's a pretty strong commander. He's He's categorized as a wizard, but because he's able to cast quite a few spells on the battlefield, but he's also pretty good at being able to hold his own in melee combat. He's armored, he has a shield. Of course, you can't really see that shield in his weapon because he's riding his dragon, because he doesn't really need to while he's riding his dragon. But he has a lot of buffs. He can hold his own in a fight, is what I'm trying to say. Alright, so that is the Dark Elves army. Pretty cool. I think I accidentally left out that, was it the Witch Elves or Dark Witches? Whatever they're called. They're like a dual dagger infantry type of unit. I think I left those out by mistake. My bad. They look kind of like the Death Hag unit. Just a bunch of them with like dual daggers. Not that big a deal. It's like, where are they? How did I miss them? Huh. Oh, here they are. Yeah, the Witch Elves. Yeah, how did I guess I accidentally didn't click on them by mistake. My bad. Alright, let's now switch to the High Elves. And we have a princess, a prince, Tyrion, and Teclis. These are the two leaders that you can play in the faction. Teclis is pretty much the spellcaster, whereas Tyrion is the melee expert. We're going to go with Tyrion. He is the one that usually has been played a lot on the Total War YouTube channels from what I've been seeing. Hardly anyone's been playing Teclis. Teclis is categorized as starting off with a hard challenge, whereas Tyrion is considered easy. There's a story aspect as to why they each are in completely different starting areas, and why they each have different challenges, but that's something I would kind of like to hold off for when I show you guys the introduction to the High Elves campaign. And he only gets one mount. He gets Melandir, his own trusty steed. So it's not the best mount, but Teclis, he also gets his own elven steed. What do the prince and princess generals get? Oh, they get, well, let's see here. The prince, he gets a steed. He can also have a great eagle. The eagles are coming, Mr. Frodo. A sun dragon. And a star dragon. The princess, elven steed, great eagle, moon dragon, star dragon. Yes, they have 4 different dragons here. Well, actually, the list's only 3. I think I gave it away. But I'll show you guys that in a moment. We're going to go with Tyrion, Melandir. We're going to also get the hero units here. Let's see. I'll go through each of them, see how many of them have mounts so we can show them off. That one doesn't get a mount. This one gets a steed, eagle, and chariot. You get the chariot. Oh, hold on. This person gets the chariot, so you will actually get the eagle. You get the steed. And you can also have the chariot. So this one actually gets an eagle, whereas these don't, huh? This is a noble. These are mages. I see. Apparently mages can't ride eagles for some reason. Don't know why. That's just apparently how it is. That's if I ever got the chance to ask a dev, so that's one of the things I would always ask is, why is it certain heroes and lords get mounts and some don't, when some others, I think, would be perfectly fine getting them? Oh, they actually do only have 3 dragons. My bad. I thought they had 4. I was confusing one of these Phoenix units as a dragon. My bad. But yeah, they have they have a few cool monster and beast units here. We'll take a look at that right now. The High Elves amongst the starting factions are the closest thing to a normal human faction when it comes to what you would expect amongst factions to play in a Total War game. If you're one of those who has tried out the historical time period, older Total War games, which now these Warhammer games have come out, you look back on those and you go, my gosh, who's going to want to go back to those? And those just seem a little, like, boring and simple in comparison. You know, I wish they had done something like this before, but obviously technology and time has passed. But, I mean, hey, those are also pretty good games in their own right. I heard that the History Channel actually used to use Total War battles in some of their specials, which I think is pretty cool that a game was able to reach that kind of relevancy where they could actually use a game to show how historically accurate some of the battles for those time periods were. So here we go. We're going to look at the High Elves army, starting off with the Star Dragon. Look at these dragons here. We have a Star Dragon with, if you're wondering what are the differences, well, apparently the wings keep interfering with the stats, and I forgot to change the map. My bad, guys. Alright, let me spread them out so that their wings don't keep constantly interfering with the stats that we look at. Alright, let's spread these guys out, because their wings just keep getting in the way. Alright, there we go. So let's start off with the Star Dragon, which apparently is supposed to be the strongest of the dragons. If you look at their health, you'll notice that, yeah, the Star Dragon apparently is the best. It has the most health. We have the Sun Dragon. We have Sun Dragon's Breath, Armor Piercing, Cause Terror, Scaly Skin, only 3,004 health. The Moon Dragon, 3,662 health with Moon Dragon's Breath. And then we have the Star Dragon with 4,212 health and Star Dragon's Breath. The eldest and most powerful dragons can melt armor and the flesh beneath with the molten blast of their white-hot breath. I guess that's maybe why the Star Dragon is considered the strongest amongst all the dragons in the High Elf faction. So, if you have to choose between one of those, definitely go for the Star Dragon. And then we have we have a regular Great Eagle. And then we have a couple of Phoenix units here. We have a Frost Phoenix, a Frost Heart Phoenix, and a Flame Spire Phoenix. Or as I like to jokingly and affectionately call them, Articuno and Moltres. Come on, like you wouldn't do that, being an old school Pokemon fan like I am. The Frost Heart Phoenix is statistically here better than the Flame Spire Phoenix, but Flame Spire Phoenix has something the Frost does not. It has an ability called Rebirth. When death is imminent, this unit has a chance of regaining some of its health. Attune to Magic, Dead from above, Armor Piercing. Now, the Frost Phoenix has a magical aura. This unit is surrounded by one or more magical auras that either support nearby friends or harm its foes. So either one has its benefits, and you can go wrong. You can hardly go wrong with either one. Down here we have the Tyrannic, whatever, that one, Chariot. There's gonna be a lot of elven words here. This is one of the reasons I never became a fan of elves. It's like too many words, like hard to understand and pronunciate words. What was that? Illyrian Reaver Archers, Missile Cavalry. They have yeah, quite a few cavalry units here. Not as many as Bretonia, but Dragon Princes, Shock Cavalry with Dragon Armor. What is that? What is that? Hold on. Dragon Armor. Fire attacks cannot harm the wearer of this enchanted volcano-forged armor. Wow. Martial Mastery. A rigorous selection process and relentless training have turned this unit into the perfect fighting machine. This effect is lost, however, if the unit is badly damaged. Huh. Well, I'm in the process of trying out the High Elves in the campaign, so I haven't gotten these yet, but now I'm kind of looking forward to recruiting those. Another Chariot unit. Armored Anti-Infantry. Hold on, what's the difference between these? 2868. They have armored and anti-infantry. Ah, that one's like a shock charging chariot. This is a missile chariot. I see, that's the difference. We've got the Silver Helms with shields. More shock cavalry, armored and shielded, anti-infantry. That's really good. We've got just regular Silver Helms without shields. Illyrian Reavers, more shock cavalry, and of course we have a ton of archery units. We have the Lothern Sea Guards with shields, who are just like the Dark Elves. There are both missile and melee hybrid units. This is a missile and spear infantry unit. Same here with Lothern Sea Guard without shields. Archers with light armor. Right, just regular archers without the light armor. Phoenix Guard, a halberd infantry unit. Pretty good. Swordmasters of Hoeth. Armored, armor-piercing, anti-infantry, deflect shots. Wow. The White Lions of Shrace? Is that how that's pronounced? Schrace? I don't know. They're Great Axe Infantry, pretty strong, with Lion Cloak and Forest Strider, and Spearmen. Up here we have our Noble riding a Great Eagle. Down here we have a Lore Master of Hoeth, who is a Wizard Spellcaster. We have a Light Mage with a Chariot, a High Mage with a Chariot, and a Life Mage with a Elven Steed. Here we have our faction leader Tyrion on his mighty Elven Steed. He's changed to cavalry once he gets this horse. Armored, melee expert, very fast, duelist. So he still keeps those melee expert and duelist buffs, even when he gets his horse. That's pretty good. You can really buff him to make him a really strong melee unit here. Martial prowess, stand your ground, feint and riposte. He has a flaming sword, so yeah, you can tell. And then we have our main artillery unit, the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. So that is the High Elf faction. Those, to me, are two of the... Well, they're the two elf factions, so they're a little boring. So, to me, somewhat, compared to the other two factions. I'm not hating on the elf units, but when you get to these two units, they kind of pale in comparison for me. Next, we have the Lizard Men. I love this faction and this army. We have a lot of lords here: Saurus Oldblood, Slan Mage Priest. The two legendary ones are Lord Mazdamundi, who is considered the overall faction leader, but he's a big giant toad, and he's, not very inspiring in my opinion. He's, just a big giant bloated toad. Compared to the other one, Croc-Gar. So, Mazdamundi does have Zlag, which is a large stegodon, and then we have Croc-Gar. He has a cold one, a horned one, and then he has... Oh, man. As an old school Transformers fan, this made me smile and laugh when I made this realization. He has a mount. It's called a Carnosaur, though really when you see it, you're going to see something that looks like a T-Rex. So he basically has a T-Rex mount, and it's called Grimlock. How can that not make you smile if you are a old school Transformers fan like I am, knowing about Grimlock? We also have some other hero units here. Let's see here. Pterodon, Stegodon, Ancient Stegodon. They all have... Oh, no, never mind. This guy gets a Carnosaur as well. Actually, hold on. You will get a cold one, because we already have the Carnosaur here. You will ride the Ancient Stegodon, you get the regular Stegodon, and then you get the Pterodon. Alright, and then we're going to get the rest of the army in here. You'll probably see quickly why I love this army. Just look at the monster units you can have, which are basically dinosaurs. You can have dinosaurs in this army. Just wait till you take a look at this. I forgot to change the map again. I'll try and hopefully avoid those trees blocking those units. Well, I guess we'll just stick with the map and I'll just make it work. I mean, there is, let's see here. Alright, here we go. Alright, I think this is a nice enough clearing here. Alright, so, starting off over here, we have an Ancient Stegodon. This is one of our artillery units. Specialist Artillery, look at this thing. It's basically a Triceratops, and it's armored up. Look at this. These guys up top, just like firing artillery fire, armor piercing, melee. So you have an artillery unit that can be able to fight in melee combat. That is fantastic, considering that usually if you have enemies get to your artillery units, you are in trouble because they have no way to defend themselves. This one does, and I love it. We have a regular Stegodon, not armored up, but still able to get the job done. And we have a Bastillodon with a solar engine. So this is another artillery unit that has a beam of Chotek. An intense white-hot shaft of light emanates forth, burning and blinding the foe with the wrath of Chotek himself. Up here we have the Pterodon Riders, Fire Leech Bolus. You can have these flying missile cavalry units, more Pterodon Riders. Down here, we have a Feral Carnosaur. Look at this guy. How can you not want to have one of these in your army? I saw this and I just immediately wanted to play the Lizardmen. Look at this thing. Now, yeah, I know he's got better, I guess, hands? What is that what you would call those? Than a T-Rex, but I mean, yeah, Carnosaurs, love them. We have a Feral Stegodon, a Feral, no, never mind. These are called Croxagores. Monstrous infantry that are basically big crocodiles that are able to cause armor-piercing damage with their weapons. Now, you'll notice there's a text here in red called Primal Instincts. When under pressure, the primal instincts of these natural predators take over. They may go on a rampage against nearby enemy units, attacking the closest one and ignoring any orders given. Now, it's listed as a negative, but from my experience, I don't really consider that to be a negative. Because I would rather these things go on a rampage and just attack anything in sight, as opposed to being routed and running away. It's one of the things that makes the Lizardmen really fun to play and also really frustrating to play against when they go on a rampage and you're like, oh no. Bastillodon Revocation Crystal. It's a monster unit with a crystal. The crystal protects those who worship the Serpent God, healing wounds and bringing supplicants back from the point of death. So it's basically a health regenerator on the battlefield for your army. It's pretty great. We have a Feral Bastillodon over here, which is kind of getting blocked by that tree. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can reposition him and make him more visible. Here we go. There we go, with that big tail in the back. Here we have the Horned ones, Cold One Cavalry, as you can see here. Horned up. Look at these guys. They're basically armored up Velociraptors. I mean, that's... oh, man. Just so many things I love about this this army. We have Cold One Spear Riders, which are being blocked by these plants. Alright, there we go. You can see more Raptor-mounted units that are able to use their spears. Cold One Spear Cavalry, pretty awesome. More Cold One Riders. Just regular cavalry with their regular weapons, which are, I guess, are like clubs. Feral Cold Ones. Yes, you can send feral Cold Ones, or Raptors, into your army after enemies. We have Chameleon Skinks. Skinks are kind of like, I don't know what, iguanas or chameleons that you can have. They're not that tough, but they can be able to be good. Cheap units that you want. They usually are the main missile infantry type of units. Skinks. Skirmishers, skink with cohorts with javelins. Over here we have the Temple Guards. These guys are really tough halberd infantry units with shields. They are so good. We also have predatory senses. These units are natural hunters that can sense prey hiding nearby. We have Saurus Warriors with shields. Yeah, these guys are kind of like the primary main unit that you'll have. There's like a few different versions here. We've got Saurus Spears with shields. We have Saurus Warriors with just their weapons. And then we have Saurus Spears with just their spear weapons. Skink cohorts over here. Over here we have a Skink Chief with his Ancient Stegodon mount. We have another. Oh, we have a skink priest riding his Stegodon mount. Over here we have a Scar veteran riding his Cold One unit. We have this other skink priest riding a pterodactyl. And then we have... Hi, Grimlock. I like how he's looking straight at me. We have Crocgar on Grimlock. Look, see, he's looking right at me. Hi, Grimlock. On his Feral Carnosaur mount. Look at this. How can you not want to play as this guy and have this guy leading your army as opposed to a big giant toad? Crocgar. All the way. He's armored, armor-piercing, anti-large, and causes terror. And yeah, he can hold his own in a fight. He's a really strong melee fighter also, just like Tyrion. Not quite the duelist. He doesn't have the duelist perk that Tyrion has, but he has Grimlock to ride into battle. Yeah. Pretty sweet. And that is the Lizardmen. Favorite faction to play because of their somewhat high leadership, but even if they don't have high leadership, they go on a rampage, and I think that can actually be a positive. And last but not least, the Skaven, the Ratmen. We have a Warlord, a couple of Grayseers, Quick Headtaker, who is the melee legendary lord, and Lord Skrulk, who is the spellcaster legendary lord. These are the two that you can choose in the campaign. Neither Skrulk nor Queek get mounts. I don't understand why. I don't get why. When these three are able to get mounts, the Warlord can get this mount called Bonebreaker, and the Grayseer can get a mount. It's called a Screaming Bell. But yet Queek and Skrulk don't get mounts. I don't get why, and I really wish they would have those mounts. Please, why can't we have Queek ride a Bonebreaker and Skrulk ride a Screaming Bell? Why? So, geez, who do I even want to show here? I guess, Gosh, the thing is, I actually do like both of these lords here, and a lot of people do like both. I'll see some play Skrulk, some play Queek. It's a very polarizing faction to play in this game. All right, I can't choose between the two, so I guess. You know what? Forget. I'm gonna go with Queek. All right, and the hero units here. Oh, this one does get a Black Furnace. I don't know if I've seen this mount yet. Well, we'll see together. Alright, so we have a ton of melee infantry units in this army. Clan Rats, Scaven Slaves, Plague Monks. You got to see each of these different units. Pretty cool, fun faction to play, but they are a little difficult to manage in terms of how they run on the campaign map because of an extra thing about how their faction runs on the campaign map that can make them a little difficult to manage and play. It was a little stressful with the extra mechanic in terms of being able to manage their faction on the campaign map. So I caution playing the Skaven because they do require a bit extra compared to the other factions to manage and play. Alright, everybody line up for inspection. Alright, you guys go over here in this clearing. There we go. Alright, so starting way over here, we have the Doom Wheel. Yes, it's a rat with a bunch of little rats inside a hamster wheel. It's a war machine that does, it has something called Zap. Sports fully automatic warp lightning rods, which discharge bolts in front and to the left and the right. It's a pretty crazy unit, but it's pretty strong. And then we have this next one. This thing. This is called the Hell Pit Abomination. This is the monster unit here. Well, and it's pretty crazy. Causes terror, obviously. Who wouldn't? Why wouldn't that thing cause terror? Look at that! Oh, that looks horrifying. It has an ability here, very unique. It's called Too Horrible to Die. When death is imminent, this unit has a chance to either regain some of its health or releasing a pack of ravening Skaven instead. So yeah, even if the enemy does manage to destroy this thing, it can either be able to get its health back, or it can become a bunch of Skaven. It's pretty crazy. This is where things get a little crazy when it comes to the Skaven. We have the Rat Ogres, monstrous infantry. Look at these things. They're like Hulk versions of rats. Pretty crazy. We have Deathglobe Bombardiers. These are missile infantry units that can be able to just hurl death globes on all, which are invented by Clan Scryer. These globes release a magical gas that is more stable than the warpstone gas used in poison wind globes. Hanging in the air longer and thus spreading further is especially lethal against large groups of targets. That's one of the things that the Skaven relish in, is spreading the plague. I mean, they're a bunch of rats, so of course they're going to be spreading plague and disease all over. Gutter runners that can be able to use poison ammo against their enemies. Gutter runner slingers that have a longer range and they're able to stalk, snare net, dodge, use poison ammo. Regular gutter runners and gutter slingers. Warp fire throwers. Look at these. They're basically like a flamethrower. They are. It says there, flamethrower infantry. Warp fire, I think, does a bit more damage though than regular fire. Poison wind globadiers, as we mentioned with the death globe ones over there, less stable. Night runners with slings. Says they are decent melee combatants. They have dodge. Not very much range. Vanguard deployment. They can fire while moving. This is one thing I like about some of the Skaven missile infantry units, is that they can be able to fire while they are moving. So you can always have them on skirmish mode, and they'll just keep firing even when they're running away. It's great. Skaven slave slingers, because Skaven do love to utilize some of their slaves in their armies. These are lesser clan rats that they just use for labor. We have Plague Monk Sensor Bearers. These are flail infantry units that, hold on, what does it say here? Plague Sensor? Warpstone dust and vile contagions fill this diabolical sensor exposure, to which does horrendous things to bodies and minds alike. Storm Vermin with swords and shields. These are pretty strong melee infantry units. Probably the strongest ones you can have here. Storm Vermin Halberd. Good armored, anti-large armor-piercing units. Death Runners as dual sword infantry, pretty strong, with Weeping Blade. Devours armor, a couple slashes in it, and all that's needed for their corrosive venom to eat through even the thickest of plates. And they have Concealment Bombs. When a bomb is dashed, a dark smoke curls out, consuming those who wish to hide and choking everyone else. We have Plague Monks, dual sword infantry units, good damage dealers. Clan Rats, spears and shields. Clan Rats are like the most general unit that you can be able to have in your army. Clan Rats with shields, Clan Rats with spears, regular Clan Rats with just swords, Skaven slave spears, Skaven slaves. And then we have the Plague Priest, who is on... Yeah, the Skaven have some weird mounts. We have the Assassin. It won't let me zoom in any farther, so... Haven't fully learned the camera controls, I guess. A Warlock Engineer. This is our legendary lord. Why is he facing that way? Queek Head Taker. Look at his back and you'll see why he's called that. armored, armor-piercing, anti-infantry, and a duelist. He's a really strong one-on-one melee infantry fighter. Can take on other lords quite well, especially when you level him up and give him his other abilities and buffs. This is a warp lightning cannon, a nice siege artillery unit. And then we have the Plague Claw catapults, which launch a Plague Claw contagion. Catapults liquid missiles, exposure to which does horrendous things to bodies and minds alike. So yeah, you can see that the Skaven and the Lizardmen, probably two of the more fun, unique factions to play here in this game. Choosing between the two, I mean, you know, it's hard to go wrong with either Queek or Skrulk. Queek is the one, though, that does have the intro, which we will probably show when, you know, when I do a video about the intros for each of the factions in this. Though, you know, either one you can't really go wrong with. If you want to do melee, Queek is your guy. If you want to do Skrulk and focus on plague monks and spreading the plague and such, or Skaven corruption, and have, you know, like using lords that have spells that can turn the tide of battle on the battlefield, Skrulk can be your guy as well. Same with these lords here, the two Grey Seers that can be able to do the same thing that Skrulk can, along with the Warlord who can do what Queek can. But the Warlord gets a giant rat ogre mount called Bonebreaker, which, you know, it's pretty cool to see. So those are the four main factions here in Total War Warhammer 2. If you know, as I was saying before, you get the, you know, choose each of the different ones here. I'll probably go over this a bit more in a separate video when we talk about the intros for this game. And as I mentioned before, this is before the Mortal Empire's free expansion DLC comes out. We may even take a look at that when that comes out. But that's how the armies look in Total War Warhammer 2 for the factions there. And of course, it'll be the same way with the other factions when Mortal Empires gets released in a few days. So there you go. And we'll be checking some more of that out when we come back. So I'll see you guys then.